Okay, everyone will just wait some time. Let everyone join in. Then we'll start off. Okay, let's start with this session. So today we will be getting with some of the major parts related to AI/ML, some of the terminologies that we will be understanding and learning in today's session. Like we need to understand about those to work with them in the later sections. Like henceforth in this project, going ahead with the projects, nearby projects where we will be going and understanding about different types of model, how they work, how they train. So for that, we would be needing that. So for that, we will be understanding about different terminologies that are related to AI/ML. So we will be learning so that we don't face any issue thereafter to know about it, right? So we'll do that. And after that, we'll just move into hypothesis testing because it is an important parameter to check in. Okay, so after you did that, you are done with your EDA and before model training, there needs to be a phase where we know we need to do some of the assumptions, right? And we need to check how much assumption is pretty much okay to do and how much we can this much risk we can take in, right? So for that, we would be needing to go with hypothesis testing. Okay, so we'll just share the screen and just give me the confirmation that the screen is visible to you or not. Okay, just allow me a moment actually. Fine. So I'm sharing the screen up. Just a moment. Is my screen visible, guys? Is my
No,
screen
ma'am.
visible? Okay,
No.
fine. Let me check. Okay, let me check that. Okay. Now is it visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Fine. So the very first one that we will be starting off, that is overfitting. So guys, you have any idea about overfitting?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So what happens in overfitting? Overfittings happen when like your model learns too much, like it memorizes the data instead of understanding it, right? So in the childhood, we also did face this thing when we used to mug up, and in exam the question is a bit tricky. Like we need to understand the question to make a proper answer of it, right? So in that case, we just don't make it up, right? So that is the major thing. So here also the same thing happens. The model learns too much actually. It memorizes the data instead of understanding it. That means like it performs very well on the training data, the data it saw before with the data for which it has trained actually, but it poorly performs when when it get access with the new data. Okay, so it poorly performs on the newly generated data. So it if it can take it in that form, so we are calling it as an overfitting kind of problem. Okay, so suppose you are studying only the last year exam question, like word by word you have prepared before a night before. You have just taken the previous first year questions, you have taken and you have memorized it word by word, right? So in the exam hall when you'll go, only the same question will appear. That's not possible, right? There might be one or two questions that would be outside that, right? So in that point, you will face this problem. So this is the similar for problem that is called overfitting. So as of now, we will understand it one by one, and then whatever be it, the major things we will be learning in details with the help of example and in model how it happens, that we will be understanding. Okay. The next is underfitting. So what happens in case of underfitting? Underfitting happens when actually my model is too simple and doesn't learn enough from the data actually. Okay. So it performs badly in both the training data and also with the test data because it never understand the pattern inside that. Right. So how actually we get through with the predicting, right? So like just a minute, let me just give you an example. Okay, so let's take an example for this. So suppose we have this house price prediction. Okay, so we have this. So how we will be taking it? So for that, suppose each of the house has two basic features. Based on that, we are taking it. Okay. So for that, we have two basic feature. One is size, another maybe price. Just for a reference, I'm saying so that it's easier for understanding. Okay. Now what we are doing, like let's go to Excel. So now we are creating the table, and based on that, we need to do the prediction. House price. So this is house price prediction I am doing, and inside it I am taking the table. The first one is house. Next one is, just a moment. Okay. So next one we are taking is size. And next one is price. Right. So this is majorly we are taking. So the very first one we'll take 5 examples so that it is easier for understanding. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes. So we'll just fill. Now, suppose it has around 1,000 square feet and the price is, suppose we are putting it in lakhs. So I'm just giving 50. So if it will contain more number of zero, it will be difficult to understand. So I am giving it as like suppose 50 lakhs. So I am giving the price in lakhs. Okay. So it is 50. Next, 1,500. We are getting the price to be 65. Next, we have around 2,000. Then we are having around, suppose, 80. Next, we have around, suppose, 2,500. Then there is an increase of 100. Next, we have around, suppose, 3,000. And we have an increase of 120. Okay, so this is the form by which we are measuring it out. Okay, so from this, what exactly pattern we are getting? While the size is increasing, the price is also increasing. And while the size is decreasing, the smaller the size, the lower the price, right? This is, as a human, we are able to understand this, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so now we need to find that like how we need to find the basic pattern between it. So suppose we are checking from 1,000 going down to 1,500. Okay, so the price, how much it is changing. So if I need to insert, suppose I am inserting the shape. So for better understanding, so from 100 to 500, like sorry, 1,000 to 5,000, when the size increase, the price is going from 50 to 65, right? So what is the increase that is happening? The increase is happening of 15. So I can include it as 15. So this is the thing that we are saying. So from 100 to 500, when the size is increasing from square feet actually. So the size is square feet. So now you can see that when the square feet from 1,000 to 1,500 is increasing, the price is going from 50 lakhs to 65 lakhs. There is an increase of 15. Right now, again, when we are seeing from 1,500 going down to 2,000, so again, we have an increase from 65 to 80. So there is an increase of again 15. Right? Just a moment.
25.
Why 25? It is 15 only.
Oh, sorry,
65.
15. Yeah.
Yes. Just a moment. This is the issue coming up. Fine. So I'm just writing 15 over here. Okay. Now again, when I am going it up here, so we are getting the value from this. We are when we are moving in. Just a moment. While this is happening. So I am keeping it vacant only because the equal to is taking in that form. That's why it is coming up. So from again 2000 when we are moving into 2500, so we are getting from 80 to 100, right? So there is an increase of 20, right? Again, from 2500 when we are increasing to 3000, so there is an increase from 100 to 120, right? So hope you get it.
Yes, ma'am.
Right? Everyone get it? Like the pattern basically. What is the hidden pattern between this data? You get it, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you
Yes.
not getting? Only
Yes,
one
ma'am.
is replying. What about others? Not interested or what? Fine, I'm just moving ahead. So you can guess it like that, like when there is an increase from 100 to 500, there is an increase of 15. 15 to 200, there is an increase of 15. 200 to 200, 500, there is an increase of 20. 200, 500, 2500 to 3000, there is again an increase of 20. So from this, we can definitely say that every 5000 square feet increase, that is equal to 15 to 20 lakh increase in the price, right? So if we need to take a simple average of it, so between 15, 20 and all, so if I just take an average, so let's take an average. So we are getting an average of 17.5 lakhs. So if we are taking an average, so there is an increase of around 17.5 lakhs, right? So now when I'll be building a simple rule out of it, so for the price increase for that would be around 17.5 lakhs for each of 500 square feet. So the price increase is around 3.5 lakhs for each of the 100 square feet increase. Right? That is quite understandable. Like this is for 500, right? So how much will be for 100? So for 100, of course, it will be around 3.5. Like around, I am saying, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Right? So this is how we are actually understanding or predicting. So suppose there is 2000 square feet, that is 80 lakhs. So our target, if we are, we need to predict something in between, like 2000 we are getting 80 and 2500 we are getting around 100. Then of course, if we need to predict, suppose I am giving prediction, we need to predict is for 2200. So in that case, what we will be doing, so we know about 100. So we will be doing around 3.5 into 2 we will be doing, right? So that will give me around 7 lakhs. Right? So my final prediction would be around 80 plus 7, that is 87 lakhs. For the square feet, that is 2200, right? This is a simple calculation. Anyone is there who didn't get it?
Yeah, I didn't get it. I didn't get. How do you get the 3.5?
Okay, I didn't get you. Can you come again?
Yeah, I don't understand.
You didn't
Prediction.
understand which part you didn't understand.
The example, the 2200. How did you arrive at 3.5 times 2?
Okay, fine. So this is in prediction. This is the data I have. Now from 1000, when I am going from 1000 to 5000, the price increase from 6000, like 50 lakhs to 65 lakhs. So we are getting like the margin of 15 lakhs increase is happening when we are shifting from 1000 square feet house to 1500 square feet house, right? You understood
Yes, ma'am.
this?
Yes.
Next, from 5,000 to 2,000, yes, 2,000, we are getting a shift of again 15 lakh increase in the price.
Yes.
So similarly for this also we are taking and seeing that there is a difference of 20,000. Sorry, 20
Yes, ma'am.
lakh. I'm really sorry. 20 lakh difference is happening. So here 15 lakh, 15 lakh, 20 lakh, 20 lakh. So now taking the average of all, so I am getting around 17.5.
Yes, ma'am.
So if average wise, we can say the price is increased around 17.5 lakhs for each 500 square feet. 500 square feet, how we are getting? Like suppose now I need to do the like I need to subtract 5,000 minus 1,000. So what is the value? That is 500, right? So for
Yes,
each
ma'am.
there is a gap of 500. That you understood?
Yes, ma'am.
So for each of the 5,000 square feet increase, in average, we like 17.5 lakh extra, like 74.5 lakh money is getting raised. The increase in price is happening around 17.5 lakhs in average, I'm saying. Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
So for 500, if we are taking it round, just a moment. For 500, like let's insert it, that would be better. So suppose for 500, if we are getting around 17.5 lakh, then for 100, how much we will be getting?
70.5
You tell
times
me.
2. Yeah,
Huh?
70.5 times 2.
I didn't get it. 17 point for 5,000 square feet, if we're getting 17.5 lakh increase for 100 square feet, how much we will be getting?
35 lakhs.
17.5 needs to be divided by 5 only, right?
Yes.
That we will be getting. That is 3.5. So this is 3.5. Got it?
Okay. Okay, got it.
Now I need to, these are my data. This I am feeding to my model. I am giving this data to my model so that I can predict any of the value. Okay. So this is the model that like this is the data I am feeding. Now I want the prediction. Okay. I want the prediction of the house whose square feet is 2,200. Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
So for nearby, we see that for 2,000, we are getting around, for 2,000, we are getting around 80 lakhs. For 100 lakhs, so what is the difference? Like, if I need to do it like that, 2,200 minus 2,000. So what we are getting? We are getting, there is a gap of 200.
Yes, ma'am.
Right? And for 100, for each of the 100 square feet, the value is increasing for 3.5. That's why I am doing 3.5 into I am doing 2. Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
So that's why 3.5 into 2, that is 7 lakhs. And 200, like 200 for 200 square feet, my value is coming up to be 7 lakhs. So for 2,200, it will be 80 plus 7, that is 87 lakhs.
Okay, thank you. Understood. Yeah, I understand now. Thanks,
You
ma'am.
understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Great. Fine. So everyone understood or anything that needs to be make you understand as of now? I guess you got it.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Great. So now if I need to predict for 2,700, you tell me how we'll be doing it. Tell me. Yeah, tell.
Okay, so we are going to have 3.5 times 7 because
7.
700, yes,
Okay.
3.5 times 7, yes, ma'am.
Okay. So let's do that, what you are telling. That is 3.5 into 7, right?
107, ma'am.
So we are getting around 24.5.
Yes, ma'am.
That's what you're saying, right?
I mean, it should be around
We are going to
107.
add 80, 80, 80 plus 24.7.
So now what I'll do, 80 plus 24.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine, I'll do. That's 24.5. So it is coming what? 104.5, right? This is what you are saying.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. Maz, what you are saying?
Ma'am, I think it should be 107.
Exactly. It should be 107. Like now, let me tell you how. So you are telling you are going with that flow, right? So that's why you are telling 104.5 should be the result. But you need to consider the nearby, right? So for nearby, you are getting 2,500. For that, the price has increased around 100, like 100 lakhs. Like it is like 1 crore, right? In that format, we are getting. So 1 crore is the price of 2,500 square feet house. So now what we will be doing from 2,500, 2,700, the gap is around 200. So 3.5 into 2 gives us 7, right? So I'll just add 100 plus 7, that is 107 lakhs. Clear?
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Clear.
Okay, so this won't be the answer. Our answer for this would be 107 lakhs. Okay,
Okay, ma'am.
got it? So this is how actually my model is predicting. Now here when we are seeing in case of underfitting, like this example is clear to everyone.
Yes, ma'am.
Guys, is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Everyone to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine, great. So hopefully there is no doubt in this section, right? Then we are moving ahead for this. So why I have given you the example, because I told in case of underfitting, when underfitting actually happens, our model is too simple and doesn't learn enough from the data. So suppose if this kind of data is given to my model, it is unable to learn it. Like this pattern that I have told you, this is how the prediction should happen. This prediction, this model doesn't understand only, right? So this pattern, the model didn't understand only. That's why it performs badly in both the training part and also in the testing part. First, what is the major understanding that needs to be taken is that when I am acquainting with any of the model and I am feeding my model with any of the data, like this is a data set, like though it is short, but we are considering it as a data set only. So I am feeding this data to my model. The model should learn this, right? Need to understand about this and how we have predicted the similar way the model needs to predict it. You get my point?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Right? So this is actually what needs to be done. But there are sometime happens when model is too simple and doesn't actually learn from the data that has been fed with. Okay, so in that part, it performs badly in the training and the testing phase. So we need to prepare it accordingly so that it don't face the condition of underfitting or overfitting. Either of the condition is not good to take it forward. Okay. So let's just move in that. So we have the another one that is fine tuning. So what is fine tuning? So fine tuning means like taking the pre-trained model and training it a bit more on the own smaller database to make it work better and based on the problem that we are having. Okay, so what exactly fine tuning is? Fine tuning is to taking out any of the pre-trained model. So I have my any of the pre-trained model. Suppose I can tell you about pre-trained model like BERT, Distilbert, SBERT. These are all like natural language, like sentence based or natural language based model, which makes which takes the understanding of the sentence. So these are already pre-trained. This BERT has been trained by Google. Okay, so there are many pre-trained model like any of the heuristic model that are also pre-trained, and many kind of models you find that are already pre-trained. We get the access of using those models also based on our requirement, and if that model is available, that is available and we can take it. So in that case there are many pre-trained model. There are many pre-trained model like XGBoost, LightGBM, CatBoost, many, right? So we need to take it through, and we need to train it a bit more using using our very small data set or using our own data set to make it work even more better based on my problem. So that is actually called fine tuning. Get it? Did you get it?
No, ma'am.
You didn't get it. Is there anyone else who didn't get it? Everyone got it, right? Except
Yes,
Jen?
ma'am.
Okay. So what happens in case of fine tuning? Like we take the pre-trained image model. We are taking suppose a pre-trained image model. ResNet, I guess everyone knows about ResNet. So it is a trained on millions of images, ResNet. So fine tuning is like I am again giving my own data set of suppose maybe dogs and cats to this model, and in return I am getting the output as it is a cat or it is a dog. So this is actually a kind of model that we are getting, and where we are using the pre-trained model and also making them work like learn or train based on our data set, so that we can see how it is performing on our data. So this is called fine tuning. Is it understandable now?
Yes, ma'am.
You got it?
Yes, I got it. Thank you, ma'am.
I am not understanding what you are saying.
Yes, I got it.
Fine, great. Next is hyperparameter tuning. So hyperparameter tuning is like setting you close to the model before it was. Like hyperparameter tuning means like trying different setting of my parameters so that I get the best result out of it. Right. Suppose I am I want to bake a cake, right? So my parameters are the temperature of my oven and the baking time, right? Suppose in the first stage, I have given the temperature of 180 degrees centigrade, and I baked it for around 10 minutes. Okay, but I didn't get the appropriate result. Next, what I'll be doing after 10 minutes, when I opened it, I got that the cake is not baked yet. It is still unable, we at that point we can't eat the cake at that point. So what I'll be doing, I will be tune my parameters. Like either I will increase the temperature or also the baking time. Right. So from 180, let's change it to 200. And from 10 minutes, let's just put it to another 10 minutes, like 20 minutes in that way. Okay. So now putting it like that will, like in that case, when I have tuned it, after I have checked, then I have got that, yes, my cake is properly set in and we are able to take it. So what happened here? We are actually tuned my parameters actually. We have changed my parameters to get the best result out of it. So that is called hyperparameter tuning. Got it? Guys, is it understandable?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Great. So next we will be moving into cross validation. What is cross validation? So it is a technique to test how well my model performs on different parts of the data. Right? Instead of using one train set split, we will be dividing my data into key parts, that is different parts, and train some part of it on the test, and remaining part will reserve for the other sections. So we are not taking we are having the entire data in, like the cross validation is just means I do have my entire data set. I just split it into two parts, that is the training part and the testing part, right? So the training part goes to the model for training purpose, and the testing part, that is the 20%, basically we keep the 20% of the data for testing. While my model is trained, I feed the data with the testing part and see how my model is giving the result. Right. So here what we do, we don't divide the entire data set or entire data into single train and test part. We divide it into many divisions. Suppose K division, we have divided it and separated into train and test section. And based on that, we go ahead. Okay, suppose you have 5 chapters to study for the test. So each time you leave one chapter out of revision, the testing, and study for the rest, right? Until each chapter is tested once. So this is the same procedure we are taking up here. Got it about cross validation?
Yes, ma'am.
How many
Okay.
K values we can take, ma'am?
We can take depend on the data set. Suppose I have 5-fold cross validation. I am doing 5-fold cross validation. Then what I'll be doing, the data will be splitted into 5 different parts. Okay, the model will train on the 4 on the test, and test 4 on the train actually, and will test on one specific part will be kept for testing part. So it will be repeated 5 times. Okay. Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
So this division you can depend based on your data set. It can be anything based on your data set. If your data set is too huge, you can divide it into also around 100, 200. That is also possible, but we generally keep it in around 5 to 6 or 10, in that range only. So as I told, for 5 folds when we are doing, so the data is split into 5 parts. The model trains on 4 and test on 1, and it repeats 5 times. Okay. Any questions up to now about fine tuning, hyperparameter tuning, cross validation, also about overfitting, underfitting?
Ma'am,
No,
all
ma'am.
these 3 methods are used to resolve the overfitting and underfitting problem. Na?
This fine tuning, yes, that can be done. And also, in any case, if my model is suppose it with any of the parameters, suppose I am expecting some of the output, that output I am not getting, in that case also, or also to decrease the misclassification kind of problem, then also we are using that, or to increase my accuracy also we can use that. Not only, yes, of course, for overfitting, underfitting, we can use hyperparameter tuning, parameter tuning, cross validation, but also in some case, suppose I trained one of my model, but now my model is giving accuracy of 50%. but I don't know why. I have done all of the proceedings. Then I did, suppose, hyperparameter tuning. That clicked. And now my accuracy from 50 gone ahead to around 70. So there is a huge change, right? 20% change has happened from 50% accuracy going down to 70% accuracy. Got my point?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And also if there is suppose a misclassification, like more of the time I am getting misclassification, then also I'll again check it or change my model. If that is not working, then I'll do first, I'll be using all of this. If because of that it is not learning, that is a point. If after applying this also there is major misclassification happening, then I'll be changing my model. Hope
Okay,
I
ma'am.
have made myself clear. Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
great. So I guess these are the major parts that we need to know while going ahead about model training, model deployment, and all. So I just explained you this part. There are other synergic terms also that we need to do. But while we will be moving ahead in the sessions, we'll be learning how to do it, in what format we can move in that form we will just take it forward, and also if required we will just launch them, or if needed we will again get back to them and know about the terminologies, because these are the major terminologies that we will be needing henceforth. So that's why I have just thought to just explain it to you. Okay. So now what we will be doing, we will be moving into the major part of ours, that is hypothesis testing. So guys, how many of you know about hypothesis testing?
I know, ma'am, little bit only.
Okay, so tell how much you know about hypothesis testing.
Basically, there are two terms, H0 and H1.
Yes. So what are
And
they?
one,
That are the initials. What are they
yes, ma'am.
called?
I don't know that much, but I
Okay,
know
fine,
that,
not initial.
yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
I know
If we
that
yeah,
have
carry on.
some,
they both are
sorry.
contradictory.
Null
Yes.
hypothesis.
And alternate hypothesis, right? Yes. Yeah.
If we have some conclusion, so we try to prove that it is true or not, something like that.
Yes. Yeah. Kind
Hmm.
of.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
Okay. So we'll just see how we can do that. Fine. So we'll know about what is hypothesis testing, what are the types of hypothesis. Then we'll step by step go to the procedure. So today, I guess we won't be able to go down to the collab because the theoretical part we are covering up. So we'll cover the theoretical part from here and then we'll move down to collab. Okay. So basically, you can imagine like in case of hypothesis testing, so you can imagine like you are a detective, right? So what is the work of yours? You have to claim, like you have actually a claim. What is a claim actually? A story, suppose someone has told to you. Now you want to know whether that claim is true or not. You got my point, what I told?
Yes.
Everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine, great. So based on that, so you are thinking that you are a detective and you have a claim and you want to know whether that claim is true or false. So this is exactly what hypothesis does in statistics. Fine. So it helps us to actually decide whether this claim about my data that I am doing, is it correct or not correct? Using evidence, we do it. Evidence means using data. We can't tell it like this is true or this is false based on my intuition or my knowledge, right? So I need to go with the data. So I do that with the help of data. Okay. So what is hypothesis? Hypothesis is actually a simple, like you can say it as a simply a assumption about something. Hypothesis is simply an assumption about something. So suppose I am telling the coin is fair, right? A coin, I know about, like you know about the coin, right? This coin is fair or not. This is an example I'm telling it to you. Okay. So suppose meaning like what it means actually, fair, what it means like it has the equal chance of landing it to head or tails. Right? So this is an hypothesis, like this is an assumption. I am saying that this coin is fair. Next, I am telling like the average height of student in my college or university, that is around 160 centimeters. So most of them are a bit taller in size. So average I can take it around 160 centimeter. Right? So these all are assumptions. I don't know the exact predictions. Right? I am just assuming. I am just assuming. Right? Did you get my point? What is hypothesis? What is this claims? What is all about?
Yes, ma'am.
Everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Great.
Yes, ma'am.
So, okay, fine. Then what we actually have, we have two types of hypothesis, as you people are telling, right? So two types of hypothesis. The very first one, just so the very first one, that is null hypothesis. And the other one is alternate hypothesis. Okay, so what is null hypothesis? So we actually denote null hypothesis by H naught, as Maz was telling, like the same way. But that is my like that is not what it is called. That is my denotation, right? And alternate hypothesis, we denote it with H1 or H alpha. So here we are generally denoting with H1 only. Okay, so what happens in case of null hypothesis? So this is the default assumption. So this is the default assumption that we are taking. So in that case, suppose I have an example, like very common example here that we take, that is the medicine has no effect. This is an default assumption. Okay. So next, like just for a reference, I am saying, so this is called the medicine has no effect. So this is my null hypothesis. So in alteration, I have this alternate hypothesis. So in this case, null is actually the default hypothesis, and alternate hypothesis, what it is, this is what we want to prove, that we keep in the alternate hypothesis. So for against the medicine has no effect in null hypothesis, what would be my alternate hypothesis? The medicine works, right? So there is a contradiction that is happening up here. Got my point? Everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Others?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine, great. So what we do, we always start by assuming that the null hypothesis is true. Assuming like this is the hypothesis. So we have the null hypothesis that the medicine has no effect, right? So let me write it. So I guess that would be easier for you to understand. So let me write it down. So I have H naught, that is the null hypothesis. So I am taking it as like that, the medicine has no effect. Okay. So in return, my alternate hypothesis that I am taking, that is the medicine has effect. Or like I can say the medicine works. That is more better. Got it? So this is my null hypothesis. This is my alternate hypothesis. So we always start by assuming that my null hypothesis is true, and then we check if the data gives enough evidence to reject my null hypothesis. Okay. So I assume that this is true. And what we check, I check if if my data, like based on my data, I need to either reject it or accept it, right? My null hypothesis, right? So based on that, what I do, if my data gives enough evidence to reject it, then I'll reject my null hypothesis, right? If I am rejecting my null hypothesis, then alternatively, my alternate hypothesis is true, right? But I'll start by assuming my null hypothesis is true. Got it? Are you people getting or not?
Yes, ma'am.
What about others?
Yes, ma'am, got it.
Yes, ma'am.
Why you are not responding? Okay. So did you get what I told as of now? So we have some of the thing, like the key idea basically that we need to think. So apart from that, we have the significance level. Okay. So significance level, this is how strict you are, like that actually signifies how strict you are. So we generally take it as 0.05. So that means you will accept a 5% chance of rejecting the null hypothesis. That is a false alarm. So in that case, if I take the significance level as 0.05, then it means we are ready to go with it. Okay. So if I need to take it and make it more applicable for you in that form, so according to this, if I am saying that suppose in real time scenario, I am taking that testing a medicine. So my scenario, real time scenario, it coming up as the, like I am imagining the company makes a medicine and claims that our medicine reduces fever in just 1 day or or in an average day. Okay, so this is my question. So now what I am doing, I am taking the null hypothesis, that is the medicine does not reduce the fever faster. Okay, so here is an example. Let us take another form based on the example that I have given. So H naught, what we are taking the medicine does not like medicine has no effect. Based on that only I am saying the medicine does not reduce the fever faster. Within 3 days, it can't do it. Okay. And in alternate hypothesis, I am taking that the medicine reduces the fever in less than 3 days. Okay. So now what I am doing, so we give the medicine to 100 patient and just collect the data of this 100 patient, right? If the average recovery time for 100 patient is 2 days, we may reject the H naught and conclude that the medicine works, right? This we can conclude. Getting my point? When we can reject the null hypothesis?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
if Great. And if the average is still around 3 days, like if people are taking around exactly 3 days or in average 3 days or more, then what we do, we accept the null hypothesis. Then we say that the medicine has no effect. Clear?
Ma'am, can you
Yes, ma'am.
again explain the significance level?
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that.
Yes.
So as of now, what I told, is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so similar way, if I take null H0 as a person is innocent, so simply H1, what it will be? You people tell me what it will be. If H0 I am taking, the person is innocent, what would be my H1?
The person is not innocent.
Yes, the person is guilty. right? So this is my null and alternate hypothesis. So I know the person is guilty. Like suppose I want to prove my person is guilty, right? But what I'll be starting with, I will start with the conclusion that the person is innocent. I will assume that the person will innocent and will start with it. Okay. Now, what happens after this statements? The jury will look with the evidence, the data that is there. So if there is a strong evidence that the jury rejects H naught, like then what it will be declared, that it will be declared the person is guilty. If the evidence is weak, then the jury will keep H naught and will declare that the person is innocent, that is not guilty, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. Just a moment. Now a significance level I am coming up. So what is actually significance level? Significance level is actually like it is the chance of making a mistake. Like if there is any mistake that is around like we keep a chance for a mistake. So that we actually denote by alpha, but we don't have alpha here in my keyboard. I need to check it from the formula bar. So it's fine. We can take it A as for a reference here. Okay. So it actually get the chances of making the mistake. So there would be a fair chance of taking the mistake that we usually keep it as 5%. Okay. So what is 5%? That is 0.05. That till this negligible chance we give it for significance for a mistake actually. So if I am giving like mean versus I am saying I am okay with being wrong 5 times out of 100. This is actually it is telling. Like if my data, I need to check the entire data and I am not getting 100% correct, but for 95% I am getting correct. For 90% of the data I am checking that I am correct, then I am going ahead and taking that, right? So in that case, we never prove that H naught is true. We fail to reject it, right? So that is the way we can take it forward. So this is actually significance level. Next, we have the p-value. What we have? We have the p-value. So what it actually tells? So it actually tells us how likely is the data happened by chance if H naught is true. Okay, so we actually create a threshold. Okay, we actually create a threshold over here. If suppose p-value, if p-value is less than threshold, that is alpha, then we reject the H naught, that is the evidence is strong that we tell. And if we get the p-value greater than alpha, then what we do, we accept the null hypothesis. Okay, so when the p-value we are doing and that is less than alpha, that is significance level, what we do, we reject H naught. Okay, and if p-value is greater than alpha, then what we do, we accept the hypothesis. Okay, so we accept H naught. What it means, we do not reject H naught, that is the significance is weak. Sorry, the evidence is weak. I'm really sorry, the evidence is weak. Okay, so this is how we actually do all of it. So now let's just go in deep how we can, how step by step we can do it. Okay, so how we will be doing it, let's just move in and understand. So first we will be stating the hypothesis. First we will be stating the hypothesis. Okay, the first step is to state my hypothesis, both null and alternate. Now what I'll be doing, I'll be choosing my significance levels, significance value, like alpha value I'll be choosing. Choosing A value. Okay, so the value maximum I can take 0.05, but I can take less also. I can take 0.01, 0.5, but based on my problem, I can also take 0.10, but that is on my risk. Generally, we compute it with 0.05. Okay, so next what we do, we choose the value. Okay, so majorly we take 0.05 only to we choose the choosing A value, that is the significance value. Okay, next what we do, we collect the data and compute the test statistics. There should be a proper test that we need to do, right? For that, that we will be doing up here. Collect the data and compute test statistics. So what happened in case of test statistics, like we use formulas for the chosen test. I guess you know about the test that we do to understand it, like Z test, T test, chi-square test. All of this are the tests that we actually do. Okay. After this, we find the p value or the critical value. P value is also called the critical value. So before that, what we can also do, we can take another point. So of deciding the appropriate test. So we do like appropriate test, like based on my like we use any of the portion test like T test, Z test, chi-square test, depending on my data type and my sample size. Okay, so that we do, then we collect the data and compute the test statistics. Like what we do up here, we use the formula for the chosen test to get the numerical score. Okay, for Z values, for Z test, we get a value. For T, we get a value that we get, right? So next, what we do, we find the P value. And P value is also called the critical value. So P value or critical value. Next, what we do, based on my P value, we do make a decision. Okay, so after that, we state the conclusion. We state the conclusion. That whether we are accepting the null hypothesis or we are rejecting the null hypothesis, right? So this is the steps that we need to follow in. Did you get it? Guys, are you getting this? Or should we take a example? Okay, let's take an example for better understanding. I guess you people are not understanding. Okay, so let's take a coin test. Okay, we don't have much time left, so we'll go a bit faster. Okay, so we'll take a coin test example. So first we have to state the hypothesis. What is my null hypothesis and what is my null hypothesis and what is my alternate hypothesis? Okay, so basically let's take H naught to be P equals to 0, that is P equals to 0.5, that is the coin is paired, and P not equals to 0.5, that is coin is biased, that is it is like that is biased, right? You get it, right? So
Yes, ma'am.
P equal to 0.5 and H1 if I am taking, I'll be just a moment. So let's take it. P is not equal to 0.5. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Others, what about others? Are you people not getting? Guys, are you not getting? Am I audible?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
You're audible.
So is it not all like understandable or what? Fine, let's just continue. So now we need to choose the alpha value, that is the significance value. So we will take it as 0.05. So this work is done, choosing the significance value. This one is done. Now we need to choose any of the test. So we can choose as of now the Z test. We will be doing Z test. Okay. Now we need to take collect the sample and compute the test statistics. Okay. So for that, we will be using the like we can use for the value of n equals to 100, and we will take the value to in that format. Like we compute the proportion in like that. So let's take it like P dash. Let's take it as P1, let's continue it as P1. And now what we will be taking, we will be computing the sample proportion. So for that, let's take it as around 60 divided by 100. I am taking 60 and the total sample I am taking it as 100. Okay, just for a reference. So 0.60, that will be my P1 value. Now I need to compute the standard error. So what is the formula of standard error? So that is P naught, that is P0 will be 1 minus P0. That will be totally divided by n, and that is square root. This is actually inside a square root. So let's take it like that. Okay. And of course, P0, like P or P0, let's put it as P0 only. So P0 will keep it as 0.5. Okay. So after computing all and we get P0 0.5. So it is 0.5. Next, 1 minus 0.5 divided by n. N, that is 100, right? So now when I am doing it, so 0.5, 1 minus 0.5 is again 0.5. So 0.25 divided by 100. So what I'll be getting? I'll be getting 0.0025. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Right?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
And the square root of it, what it is? 0.05. Got it? Now I need to compute the Z score. So what is the Z score? Z, like the formula that you need to get it to, that is P bar minus P naught by SE. So P bar, that is P1 minus P0. This is my total P0 by SE. SE, that is, this is the value that we have got. So what is SE? SE is the standard error. Okay, so that we need to put it. So P1 minus P0 by SE. Got it? So that we have taken it as 0.60, 0.60 minus 0.50 divided by 0.05, right? because this value is 0.05, that is SE that we have calculated up, that is here, that is 0.05. So how it will be? 0.10 divided by 0.05, right? So I am getting 0.2. Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Got it? So now what happens? So this is Z value. So Z value equals to
Ma'am, it
0.2.
would be
So,
2.
sorry?
Ma'am, the answer should be 2, I think.
Yes, sorry. Yes, exactly. It would be 2, not 0.2. There is an, yes, it is 2. Yes. Thank you. So it is 2. So now we have the one-sided tail. So that's why we have to take it as 0.002. So two-sided value would be 0.4, right? One-sided value is 0.2 and two-sided, like this is not related this two. Okay. So we need to find the p value of two sides, both the sides of the square, right? So that is the reason. So we are taking this p value that would be equal to 0.04. Okay. So you can see now if I am concluding this 0.04, this p value is less than, this p value is of course 0.04 is lower than my significance level that we have kept as 0.05, right? Here, right? That is why we are rejecting the null hypothesis. Okay, so the coin tossed, we have this situation that we have like 100 times it has tossed and we have got the value. Like I have just since taken 60 times, either 60 times tail or 60 times head, and others are getting like 40 times. If 60 times head, then 40 times tail it is happening, right? So that's why we have taken it like that. Next, moving in with the square root, this value we have taken it, the SE value we have taken it like that. Then did the Z test up here and got the value of Z test to be 2. Right now, once we have to get the value for two-sided only. So it's not one-sided tail. So two-sided p value we need to get. So we will be doing 0.02 into 2. That's why we are getting 0.04. That's why we are, this is the value of p. So v value we are, that is less than 0.05. That's why we are rejecting the null hypothesis. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Just a moment. Fine. So I guess if this is clear to you and the steps are clear to you, so we just need to take in to the form that we need to take it in the like the collab form, how we need to get it. If suppose things are not clear to you, you go like this is already I mentioned. You see it from your end today. If it is not clear to you, again come back to me tomorrow. I'll be again explaining this part and then we'll move into the collab. Okay?
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, fine. Then we can move ahead. Then we can just wrap up this session for today at least. And tomorrow we can again join in and we'll share you how we can do the hypothesis testing with any of the data set. Right?
Okay, ma'am.
Great. So we are just wrapping up.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, Pranali. So hopefully we will be going ahead tomorrow with this, and tomorrow you will be given with the this week project. Okay. And what about Pranali? Did you clarify like yesterday, as you told, I have again given you about the pre-processing part. Is your project ready now?
Ma'am, not ready, but
Your voice is
I
breaking,
seen the
Pranali.
project.
Your voice is breaking. I didn't get.
Ma'am, network issue.
Yeah, that is fine. Okay, fine. Make sure that you submit your first week project as well, okay? Because that is mandatory. Because of that, that is actually lacking, right? So you need to go ahead with that. And in the group, I have already shared that file, like the report file. Start preparing your report once you're done. Since for your first week project is done, your second week project is about to come in. So based on that, start preparing it. Okay. So that at the end, you don't feel extra pressure. Okay. So start preparing. I have already shared that file. You can get to know how you have to do it. In that form, you'll be getting it through. Okay. Okay, guys, then we can we can wrap up our session today here. We'll meet tomorrow again. Bye, everyone. Bye.